atheRINe is a video game from Atlus about the difficulties of relationship, the consequences of commitment, unexpected pregnancy, and being chased by a tentacle demon from the depths of the metaverse. Well, it wouldn't be an Atlus game if it doesn't have demons and metaverse. Atlus's way of making video games seems to be a conflict between someone who wants to make a slice-of-life visual novel and someone who wants to make an actual game. It's more apparent when you play Persona 3 Portable, where instead of 3D rendering, the characters are displayed in this visual novel style because the PSP has too much limitations. Anyway, I loved atheRINe way back before I loved Persona, but it's been a while since I watched playthroughs of this game because it was 2011 and I don't have a PS3 at the time. Thankfully, now I have the chance to play it more because Atlus is gonna release atheRINe full body for the PS4, and the trailer showed the character Rin, which I just found out is a clever grab of the Rin out of atheRINe, so that's pretty cool. So in the trailer, Rin is revealed to have dark secrets at her bottoms, which makes people to speculate whether or not she's a chick, a trap, or whether or not her genitals unlock a portal that leads into Vincent's cameo in Persona 3 for some reason. And since the revelation that Rin has secrets down her leg that implies that she's probably a dude, we have tons and tons of social justice activists getting angry because of the apparent depictions of LGBT characters in the game. I've already addressed these arguments in another video regarding Persona, but I didn't know why these social justice activists never stop on banging onto Atlus about how the LGBT representation needs to change. Yes, the Kotakus and Polygons made their articles getting outraged over it, but what if I showed you an interaction with someone who actually is outraged over this on Twitter? Because frankly, figuring out the kind of person who is mad about atheRINe is more informative than just vague generalizations that any of these journalistic outlets provide. So let's get to it.
If you think that pointing out people keep buying crap from homophobic or transphobic companies is calling you out, it is. Quit doing it. People that didn't give them 6 years ago with the original release of atheRINe are now suddenly woke. The game isn't transphobic. You're the bigot here. Do you even understand how trans have idol status in anime/gaming community? Stop being an idiot. Yes, I'm the bigot, because something problematic in Japan is problematic everywhere else. Why don't you at least learn to scream out both sides and not try to claim a world that sums up so many attacks on trans people is a good thing? It'd still be stupid, but a step up.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the realms of traps are problematic because it can be made as a justification for murdering trans people. There's another article discussing that, but we'll get to it. Let's just focus on the emotional tantrum because that sums up the reaction of all of these people.
How is atheRINe problematic? No one has explained it, just said that it is and expected everyone else to just accept it. Because it takes half a freaking minute and none of you are asking. I just asked and you just spurred out at me instead of explaining.
Well, there you go. You want a good summary of why this is a controversy? You have a bunch of people on Twitter basically throwing unreasonable tantrums over problematic depictions of characters in video games. When they're confronted about why, they just throw even more tantrums.
My favorite argument by gamer scumboys is, why should we believe you? Explain! Let me tell you why I don't freaking bother. Because people showing up out of nowhere to tell you why you're wrong are not asking questions. They're scumboys looking to be asshats. It's not failing my side to not provide an argument to a side that is inherently wrong, ignorant, and doesn't actually want to listen. I could explain it, but nobody had so much time in their lives to waste doing something that they know has no chance to accomplish anything.
So in other words, these people don't want to explain anything, they just want to throw tantrums. Oh, you don't believe me? Here's another interaction sent by one of my followers.
How is it that Atlus is ushering in 2018 with by far the least progressive installments present in all its trending franchises? Persona 2 featured an openly gay character, wasn't a joke, and a flashy dude covered in makeup. The game didn't invite you to mock for it, and here in 2017, Persona 5 gave you Yusuke, and tells you to laugh at him because they gave him weird gay traits.
Well, I haven't played Persona 2 myself, I heard it's an excellent game, but Yusuke being made fun of for having gay traits? Or being gay himself? Yeah, you're gonna need a little bit of explaining in that department because I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you talking about his eccentric behavior? That's not necessarily associated with him being gay, nor is it exclusively a gay trait. Are you talking about that time in the social link where he's mistaken for being gay with Akira? Even then, he displayed lack of understanding on the concept of love. These are completely minor scenes in the entire game that amounts to bugger all. Highlighting these completely minor scenes to prove the point that it is a progressive game is like saying, this absolutely delicious birthday cake made by Gordon Ramsay is amazing because the candles actually show my age. My follower said, well, it's just a game, and a person responded with another tantrum. One follower points out that he retweets Earthchant fan arts, oh no, what a horrible immature person he is, and she keeps calling people in her mentions a bunch of 12-year-olds. I think you all get my point here. These people are just throwing tantrums after tantrums after tantrums. They're not going to listen to reason, which is why Atlus just doesn't really give a damn about them in general. In fact, doubling down with the depiction of Rin and Catherine is an excellent move, because in that way they're going to keep on throwing tantrums at them for absolutely no reason. And you know what? That is good, because it just highlights the amount of power that these Tumblrites have over these companies. Absolutely bugger all. Nobody is going to cry by the time a group of LGBT activists boycott your game, which is precisely what Waypoint is probably going to do.
Atlus, we haven't forgotten your mishandling of LGBTQ characters.
Jesus, I swear to God, that sounds like a threat. And ironically, as I'm going to show through this video, the only thing that is being mishandled is Atlus's characters by this Waypoint writer.
Content warning, transphobia and graphic descriptions of transphobic violence.
That's right, the article has a trigger warning. It shows to me that this article is trying so hard to appeal to the most emotionally fragile people in existence. The only way for me to help these people is to suggest them to be thrown into a nearby institution. Don't worry, as we're getting to this article, you'll see the reason why I say such monstrous things. Now, the article spoils both Persona 4 and Catherine, but they only spoil minor stories, so I don't really consider them spoilers at all. I'm going to describe the points that this article raised, but before we describe them, I want to thank you for the donations of Bryant and Jonathan at PayPal. You are fantastic. And also, thanks for the great fan art from a fan who chose to be anonymous. I know you don't want shoutouts, but I've been doing it as a tradition anyway, so might as well. It looks freaking fantastic as well. Also, Merry Christmas for those who are celebrating. Unfortunately, I don't have my Santa hat on, but at least my red and white shirt should suffice for now.
Man's not hot, man's not hot, man can never be hot. They told me, take off your jacket, I said, man's not hot.
As a queer fan of the series, one who even has Persona 5 as their number 2 game of the year, it often feels like Atlus hates its queer audience.
That's right, this person feels like Atlus is attacking her and hates her as a queer audience. How? By depicting characters who are kind of, sort of LGBT to be made like a joke? But even then, they're going to treat even the most harmless treatment of LGBT characters as an attack on them. A great example of this is how the article describes Naoto from Persona 4. Now for the record, Naoto is not trans. She is a cross-dresser because her fear of not being taken seriously as a detective if she's a woman. And even then, the issues that she faces is less man versus woman and more adult versus kid, because that's how pretty much everyone in the police department saw her. However, the article straight up misinterpreted her as trans and even referred to her in his or him pronouns. For God's sake, if you actually played the game and played all the way to the end of her social link, you might find out that Naoto is actually more accepting on being a woman. This is highlighted by the end photo shot in Persona 4 Golden and the depictions of her in the ambiguously canon spin-off novel in which she has a freaking long hair. She's accepting her identity as a woman more and more, and anyone who still thinks that she's trans is either completely freaking delusional, hasn't played the freaking game, or hasn't done any basic research.
Naoto's dungeon, which represents his psyche, has him threatening to perform a dangerous experiment on himself that's later revealed to be some form of gender reassignment surgery.
Wrong! Her shadow not only did not perform a gender reassignment surgery, but the shadow also did not intend to perform a gender reassignment surgery. Rewatching the anime, you might notice that in the early battle, Naoto's shadow shot Yosuke with an aging ray, one that caused him to become horrendously old. She also shot Yu and Teddy with the same ray that also aged them. Conclusion, Naoto's shadow wants to age Naoto to become an adult, which perfectly fits her character arc and actually makes the anime a hell of a lot smarter. Good God, this article already got her scene wrong in every level just for the sake of pushing her for being trans. And frankly, giving any sorts of logic to these people will not work because they operate in tantrums. They don't even give her the right pronouns.
Your goal as the player character is to stop him from making that decision, ultimately framing Naoto as a woman fed up with the demeaning treatment from their male peers.
No, you freaking idiot! Your goal is to save Naoto from being consumed by her own shadow and prevent her from being killed! Just like Saki in the introduction of the freaking game! My God, the amount of misinformation out of this is just insanity! If Atlus actually complies to these morons, I am not only going to cancel my Catherine full body pre-order, I will nuke your company from orbit, and I will be about as enthusiastic for future Persona releases as I am with the next Ubisoft sandbox. Do not listen to people who absolutely trashes your game like this by getting scenes wrong. Every freaking turn, it's just wrong after wrong after wrong.
This despite a latter hot spring scene where Naoto's visibly uncomfortable with his naked body paired alongside his cis female companions and other clear signs of gender dysphoria.
No! No, those are not clear signs of gender dysphoria. That's just a girl being shy about her body being open to other characters. Being shy about your body does not automatically make you to have gender dysphoria. By your logic, this scene proves that all the female characters in Persona 4 have gender dysphoria.
Teddy? What the hell?
Huh?
You douchebags!
The most damning insult to his identity comes when you decide to initiate the romance route with him.
Her. For God's sake, her. Waypoint needs to be nuked from orbit. I'm sorry. Come to think of it, Waypoint is a part of Vice magazine, and Vice just got recently outed for creating a horrendous culture of sexual harassment. Glad that you got your priorities straight. Screw those innocuous fictional characters and video games. Let's respect more women in the office.
During an intimate moment between you and Naoto where he expresses his wish to have been more the boy, you are able to initiate romance with him by responding, "I am glad you're a girl." Later, after confessing your love, you're able to ask him to change his talk at a higher pitch to sound more feminine. If you do so, Naoto comes into school in a girl's uniform during the Christmas event. However valid his feelings are, Naoto's identity hinges on your cis character's gatekeeping to be seen as valid, and that has left queer fans in the position of needing to reclaim his identity.
Wrong. Wrong. You are so wrong. I am amazed that you got it wrong in every single sentence of that freaking paragraph. You do not initiate romance to her by saying, "I'm glad you're a girl." You initiate romance to her by saying, "Because I love you." Social link level 8. Later, after confessing your love, you can ask her to voice in a higher pitch to sound more feminine because she asked you about it, which you can also choose not to do. Also, guess what? That schoolgirl outfit, she doesn't go into school wearing it. She goes into your room asking you if you want her to wear it. That's a mistake that you cannot miss if you actually play the game and not hear it from your peers. Actually, come to think of it, I've never actually done Naoto social links all the way to her max level. Hell, I've never played Persona 4 Golden. I know about all of this by simply watching YouTube about her social link. That is something that you can do regardless of whether or not you played the game. Also, the schoolgirl outfit, she wants you to see it. You're not forcing her to do it at all. She actually wants you to see it as a way to show her love for you. And the biggest mistake of all, regardless of whether or not you do Naoto's freaking social link, she'll end up looking a lot more feminine anyway. And in regards to her queer fans who want to reclaim his or her identity, the article links to, I'm not kidding, an article that literally denies reality. Screw Canon, acquire representation. Naoto Shirogane is a trans man. This article just screams, "Atlus, please notice me because I'm trans." Screw Canon. Just notice me, please. Now I'm going to highlight to you the theories that can only come from a deranged psycho.
Gender essentialism is the theory that our gender differences are innate, universal, and, according to transphobes, biological. Atlus's games are rife in essentialism. Naoto's desire for gender reassignment is deemed irrational and potentially damaging because, really, he'll always be a woman.
Naoto's desire for gender reassignment. I'm sorry, but that's your version of reality that does not match our current reality, and you need help.
Many in the anime and anime games community often use trap to describe characters who don't identify as female but present as such anyway, trapping the usually heterosexual cisgender male hero into being attracted to them. A recent example is Felix from the anime Re:Zero. This time, it's correct to call them male because a trap knows they're actually male. It's the gender essentialist platonic ideal of the deceptive trans trope. It's saying the quiet part loud.
Well, if their description of traps isn't crazy enough for you, this article proceeds to highlight every incident of trans people being treated badly, with being brutally murdered being the worst treatment. Good freaking God! This article is a deranged tantrum. That's the only way I can describe it. This article thinks that thanks to me playing Persona 4 or Catherine full body, I can end up murdering trans people in real life or treating trans people horribly in real life. Excellent! You can boil down the reasons why people hate you to just simply being trans. It's not because of you being mentally deranged, taking insane logic leaps, completely misinterpreting scenes, and throwing tantrums at people over nothing. Nah, it's because you're trans. You're being oppressed and hated by everybody, obviously because you're trans. You can't comprehend complexities and nuances very clearly evident throughout this article because you're mental and you need help. Also, I don't know about you, but not disclosing the fact that you're trans to your romantic partner, isn't it a really douchebag thing to do? Sure, you don't deserve to be murdered for it, but at least acknowledge that it's a douchebag thing to do, and some trans people might have done that for their advantage.
Knowing what we know about Atlus's history with trans people and the real-world effects of its essentialist worldview, we can't in good faith expect Rin to be an empathetic portrait of a transgender woman. So instead, let's ask a more important question. Why aren't we letting trans creators tell their stories?
Jesus Christ, I read that last paragraph as, Atlus senpai, please notice me. I swear I'm going to make great stories about trans people. I'm sure it's not going to be egotistical and self-serving at all. I'm not going to let you touch any of Atlus's products. Not that you could because Atlus is in Japan. You can write your own stories, just don't ever think that Atlus senpai is going to notice you, especially when you throw this massive amount of tantrum against fictional characters you have completely misinterpreted. Good God, you are saying that mishandling of trans people lead to the murder of trans people in real life.
Our increased visibility can only do harm when we place our stories in the hands of cis developers. If gaming really wants to show our lives, simply offering us a seat at the table wouldn't be an insurmountable step.
In other words, screw these cis creators, we are entitled for the position because we're trans.
You've heard what they all say. You're just a little kid. A little stupid kid.
We have lots of weird, funny, horrifying, incredible experiences to share, and gaming would make a fantastic avenue for sharing them. Propping up trans creators and collaborators can only evolve the medium's potential to create radical new experiences. We should be pushing for that kind of progress before we give games like Catherine Full Body the time of day.
Absolutely not. You are deranged. You need help. I've said it a million times, but that's frankly the only conclusion that I can give to you. You can't operate in logic. You can only operate in tantrums. I advise you to seek help or talk to someone. Here's a scary thing that I noticed, and I'm saying this because I'm genuinely worried about trans people. It's very much well known that trans people have a high suicide rate, right? Now, I want to know what sorts of thing that makes them to kill themselves. Is it really the video games that portray trans people as bad guys or things to be laughed at? Is it the laws and regulations that prevent them from having certain basic human rights? Or is it the Tumblrites who horrendously misinterpret scenes from video games to highlight the fact that the world is going against them and therefore increasing the paranoia more and more? Now, even if I agree that video games and laws contribute somehow into their high suicide rates, but wouldn't you guys agree that you are also contributing into it? The reason is because you misinterpreted scenes and characters that were completely innocuous in nature and think of it as if it's the most despicable thing in the universe, and that the scene is only going to contribute into normal cis people like me to kill more and more trans people because they are trans. No. From my point of view, by you horrendously misinterpreting and taking scenes out of context in order to show how the world is going against you and calling it transphobic, you are actually contributing more into the suicide. You're actually giving less and less hope for trans people to have their issues noticed. You're making their issues worse by pointing out transphobia when there isn't any, therefore making trans people more and more paranoid that the world is going against them and therefore leading into their suicides. Do you see my trail of logic here? Now, all of these emotional tantrums that you have, you can keep doing it as much as you like, but just so you know, even if you're not contributing into the suicides and deaths of trans people, you are not helping by making them more and more paranoid about the world. It's all thanks to you being outraged over nothing. Is this because of social justice, or is it because you are just a fundamentally horrible person?
Every cis person who thinks they can decide what is transphobic or not owes every trans person $20.
Unsympathetic, deranged, horrible freaking douchebags. Got it! Screw these people.